Right, in this class, we'll be discussing about classes and objects. And before we go for the class, let us briefly revise something about the structure. So, what we have studied in structure is an entity which is used to combine together the related pieces of information, which is used to combine together. That means if you want to join together the related type of data of different data types into a single entity, then that is possible with the help of a structure. Like how we have classes which are defined for C++, and we have like how we have structures in C, we have classes in C++. So most of the functionalities are similar to the structure, but there is a difference with the accessibility of the members present in the class and the members present in the structure. So there are some differences, and both are going to help the library programmer to create their own data type. Because what actually we are trying to do by using structure we are going to create our own data type. By using structure we are going to create our own data type, and by using class also we are going to create our own data type. So they both are going to help us to declare or create our own data types. Now, the usage of structure was studied in the previous classes. If you remember, I will briefly revise it once again. We have studied something called a date structure. So, I will try to rewrite it once again here. That is, we have studied something like this: struct, date, and there were data members like this: D, comma, M, comma, Y. So, date, month, Y. Date, month, and year. So we have studied this concept in the previous classes. What basically we are trying to do here is the related components. We are trying to combine them into single entity. What are the related components here? Date, month, and year. So these related components we are trying to combine into a single entity called date, which is of type structure. Called date, which is of type structure. So once we have defined structure, we are going to declare the variables of the structure. That is what is happening in this very first line. So how do we declare variables of a structure? By using struct keyword, name of the structure and name of the variable which you want to do for the structure variable. Now suppose if you call a function like setDate member function by passing address of this object which is created just now, then it is possible that it is possible that we're just printing the present value, whatever is the month that you printed. Later, at this stage, it is possible that the month value may get a value of 13, which is not desirable, because the month values will always range from 1 to 12. There is no 13th month in the year. We don't have 13th month in the year. So at any given point of time, the month should vary from 1 to 12. But we can do such changes. Such undesirable effects can be made by any of the codes. That's why there is no proper security in case of structures. And anyhow, if you have written that line, say for example, if your program is around 25,000 lines, and at somewhere this particular error is happening, this particular undesirable property is happening. But if you want to find which particular set of code or which particular line segment is going to cause this error, in that case you may have to scan the entire 25,000 lines of code to find which particular code is doing that particular error. Now that is very undesirable effect, and luckily we have solution for that in C++. That means the structures in C++, the structures are allowed to define their own member functions. The structures are allowed to define their own member functions. And we are going to provide the restriction that only those member functions are allowed to access the data members. That is how we provide security to the data. we are going to restrict the data to be accessed by only specified member functions. Don't allow everyone to access the data. So how that security can be provided? So let us see one example. So this is on structure called distance. And whenever we talk about distance, usually it will be in terms of feet and inches. And we know that 1 feet is equal to 12 inches. That's why this example is being taken. And we cannot say 13 inches. And whenever we have something like 13 inches, it must be termed as what? It must be termed as 1 feet and 1 inch. 1 feet and 1 inch. That is the reason why this particular example is being taken. Why this example is being taken. That is the reason. So int I feet, then f inches. So what are these? These two are the data. These two are the data, because this is actually this is where the data is being processed. Now we need to provide security to this data. So what we can do here is the C++ permits us to define our own member functions. That means the functions which can access this data. The functions which can access this data. So these are the 4 different functions which are allowed to access that data. These are the 4 different functions which are allowed to access that data. So what it does, set feet is a method which is going to take x as a parameter and assign that x to I feet. Similarly, get feet, simply returning the value of I feet. Set inches, whatever value I is there, that will be assigned to the data member f inches. Then get inches will simply return the value of f inches. So 4 different functions we have defined in the class definition itself. So what is the class definition? Class in the sense, still we are using the struct keyword. So there is no much difference between structure and class. So we are defining the structure called distance, which has 2 data, I feet and f inches. I feet is of type integer, f inches is of type floating point or float. And 4 functions we are defining. What are the 4 functions? Set feet is one function, get feet is another function, set inches is third function, and get inches is fourth function. So these are the 4 member functions or functions we have defined within the structure. We have defined within the structure. Now as is going, the program execution will start from the main function. So what we are doing with this first line, what is this distance? Distance is name of the structure. I'll go back and show you what is this. Distance is name of the structure. That means we are creating 2 structure variables. We are creating 2 structure variables, D1 and D2. We are creating 2 structure variables, D1 and D2. And what are the members for that? These, what are the data members? I feet and f inches are the data members. I feet and f inches are the data members. So let us write here I feet and f inches, second data member. I feet and f inches. Similarly, second structure variable is being created. So these are so many member functions will be there in this one. Whatever these member functions are there. T2 again it has 2 data members. Space reserved for 2 data members. What is that? I feet and second one is f inches. Right? This is what is the impact after execution of the first line. 2 structure variables are being created. 2 structure variables are being created. Now, along with these structure variables, we can invoke different functions on these structure variables. What are the different functions? Set feet, get feet, set inches, and get inches. That means, for understanding purpose, I will write it here. Set feet is the one function. Then we have get feet. Set feet is the one function. Then we have get feet. Similarly, two more functions we have. That is set feet, get feet, then set inches. Next we have set inches function, then get inches function. Right? So basically this is what is one object. Similarly, we have onto this object also. Now what we have done is we have declared two structure variables with this first line. Now let us see what is happening in the second line. Onto the D1 structure variable, we are invoking set feet function and by passing 2 as the parameter. That means I am calling set feet function by passing 2 as a parameter on which object? On D1 object. So what this causes here is this line causes the function definition to be called. Which function definition? Set feet to be called. Set feet will get called. And what is the parameter being passed? 2 is the parameter which is being passed. What is present in X now? In X we have 2 and that 2 will be assigned to I feet. So I feet will get a value of 2. I feet will get a value of 2. So I feet on which structure variable? On D1. On D1 I feet will get a value of 2. On D1 I feet will get a value of 2. What is the next statement? Next statement we are calling set inches function by passing 2.2 as a parameter onto D1 object. That is D1 dot set inches. This causes this function to be called set inches. And what is the parameter here? Parameter is 2.2. So what is the value present in Y? Y has 2.2. So that 2.2 is being assigned to what? Being assigned to F inches. F inches of which structure variable? F inches of D1 structure variable. So what it will get? It will get a value of 2.2. It will get a value of 2.2. Similarly, if you can see here, we are invoking set feet function on D2 object by passing 3 as a parameter. That is D2 dot set feet. So again set feet function will be called now onto the D2 object by passing 3 as a parameter. Again we are calling set feet function. This time what is the parameter? 3. That 3 is being assigned to what? I feet. I feet of which structure variable? I feet of second structure variable D2. So what it will get? D2 will get a value of 3. Next, set inches of 3.3. That means this will invoke the set inches function onto D2 object. So F inches will get a value of what? 3.3. So this is invoking, I'll show it once again, set inches onto D2. So set inches function is being called onto D2 by passing 3.3 as the parameter. That 3.3 will be assigned to what? F inches of D2. So F inches of D2 will get a value of 3.3. So we have created two structure variables and we have initialized those two structure variables. We have assigned some initial values for the two structure variables. And finally what we are doing in this, we are just displaying those values. That is D1 dot get feet. What it will do, it will invoke the get feet function on D1 and whatever value we are getting that will be displayed here. That is what is the feet value of the D1 object. What this function causes, I will take different ink to show that. So what this causes, D1 dot get feet. So this particular color, D1 dot get feet. Yes. This particular function will be called onto the D1 object. So what it is doing, get feet function is being called on the D1 object and finally what it is returning, it is simply returning I feet. The value of I feet in the D1 object. In the D1 object, what is the value of I feet? Value of I feet is 2. That means what will be displayed in this place? In this place, output will get 2. Then we have one space will be left. Next what happens? Again get inches function is being called onto D1 structure variable. That means this will invoke this particular function. That is get inches function is being called. Get inches function is being called onto the D1 object. Now this is going to return the f inches value of the D1 project. So what is f inches in D1? F inches in D1 is 2.2. So 2.2 will be written and that will be printed in this particular place. So 2 space 2.2 end L means cursor will go to the next line. Similarly, we are invoking get feet function onto the D2. So what is feet value in D2? It is 3. So 3 will be displayed. Next, similarly, get inches function onto D2. So what it will do? It will simply return f inches. What is f inches in D2? It is 3.3. So it will display 3.3. It will display 3.3. So this is how the structure variable is being created. As you can see, this is what is the output. There is actually one space here which you cannot see properly in the text box. 2 space 2.2, 3 space 3.3. This is how the output comes. Now let us analyze that. Let us analyze the program execution. So what happens here is every structure variable is going to contain its own independent copy of the data. So that's what I have shown here already. Every structure variable, that is D1, will have its own copy of the data members. D2 will also have its own copy of the data member. But member functions are unique for both the structure variables. So that means D1.ifeed will not affect D2.ifeed. So they are independent copies. Both the structure variables are independent copies. And we are free to access the data members directly. That is D1.ifeed equal to 2. This still we can do it. That is allowed. That means if you want directly to set some value to this ifeed, that means D1.ifeed is equal to D1.ifeed is equal to 20. That means it is possible directly you can write. If you write like this, what happens? The ifeed member of D1 will get a value of 20. The ifeed member of D1 will get a value of 20. So what is the earlier value here? Earlier value is 2. Now which value it will get? It will get a value of 20. That is possible. The data members can be directly accessed. That is what is the meaning. Right? Now let us analyze the private and public members of a structure. Private and public members of a structure. That means we are going to provide security for the data. That is how we provide security in C++. By restricting the data as private and by making functions as public. Public members can be accessed by anyone, whereas private members can only be accessed by the member functions of the class. We are going to provide restriction now. So the earlier structure is being modified now, whatever we have studied just now. The same structure, here we have just added one access specifier. What we are telling? Private. That means this ifeed and f inches are now private to the structure variable. Only functions of the structure can access that. Outsider cannot access. Outsider cannot access. Now these functions, all those functions are 1, 2, 3 and 4. All these 4 functions are kept in public section now. These keywords are being added. What public section indicates, anyone can access those. That is, the code outside the structure definition can also access those member functions. What are the functions? Set feet, get feet, set inches and get inches. Now they have been made as public and this data is made as private. Compared to earlier structure definition, I'll go back to earlier structure definition and show it once again. You can see earlier structure definition, there is no access specifier, there is no private and public. Similarly for the functions, if you can see for the functions, there is no access specification called public here. There is no access specification called public. Right? Now, in this very first member function, we are directly setting the value of ifeed to x. Why? Because private member accessed by the member function, that is possible. This is the private data. What is the private data? I feet and F inches are the private data that can be accessed by the member functions. That can be accessed by the member function. More specifically, I will try to draw the diagram. I will try it once again. I feet and F inches are the data, and we have the, this is what is data and this is what is functions. What are the functions? Set feet, get feet, set inches, and get inches. Set inches and get inches are the four member functions. These four member functions are now public. That means they are made public. Outside functions can access them, whereas these are made as private. These are made as private. These are made as private. This public data, outsider can access this data only through this member function, only through these four member functions. And that is what is happening here. That is very much possible. We can directly access that. And remaining all parties same. Remaining all parties same. We are just invoking. We are just creating two structure variables, invoking set feet function, then set inches, get feet, get inches. Onto D1 object first, then onto D2 object. Then I am just incrementing the value of I feet. Why? By using statement D1 dot I feet plus plus error. Why it is error? Private member is being accessed by the non-member function. What is I feet here? I feet is a private data member. See here, if you can see this diagram, what is I feet? I feet is a private data member. If you want to access this private data, only who can access this private data? Set feet, get feet, set inches, get inches. Only these four functions can access this private data. But you cannot directly access that. We cannot directly access that. But what is being tried here? Here we are trying to access the F feet, that is I feet, directly with the help of structure variable. That is not possible. That is how the security is provided. No one is allowed to directly access the data. But who is allowed to access the data? Only the set feet function, get feet function, set inches function, and get inches function. Only these four functions are allowed to access this private data. If we are writing a statement like D1 dot I feet plus plus, I am trying to increment this I feet value, which is not provided. The permission for which is not given. Why? Because private data cannot be accessed directly. If you want to access private data, that must be through the member function. This is valid one. Whatever the first function is doing, this is valid one. Why? Because IFET is being assigned some value. You are trying to access the IFET data member, but how? With the help of the member function called setFeet. You should go through proper channel. That is how we can provide security to the data. And these are simple display functions like earlier. So this is already explained, whatever theory I told just now. So what basically the concept here is, the private data members of a structure can only be accessed by functions of that structure. Directly you cannot access the private data. If you go to access the private data directly, we will face the difficulties. We will be not allowed to access the private data. And the key points about the key differences between structure and C and C++ is, not C and C++, between structure and classes is, in structure, all the members are public by default. In structure, all the members are public by default. In structure, all the members are public. That means anyone can access those data members because they are declared as public. Whereas in a class, they are private. It is exactly reverse. In class, they are private. Let us see how we can understand that. The earlier structure definition is being rewritten once again. What is that? Structure definition is being written. Private keyword is there and then public keyword for all these member functions. public keyword for all the member functions. But we know that the structure members are, what is that? The structure members are public by default. Structure members are public by default. That means if you don't write any access specifier, that means that those structure members are public. That means what are the public members in this? These are public members. These are public members. This can also, this structure definition can also be rewritten like this. What is that? Just they have been swapped. The structure definition, the function definitions are written first, then the data members are written later. Because these are private, they have been kept as it is. Even if you don't write anything, it should not come up to here. It should be only up to here, right? Even if you don't specify any of the access specifier, that is understood that they are public. That is understood that they are public. This set feet function, get feet function, set inches function, and get inches function, they are public. Why? Because by default the access for that is public. If you consider previous structure definition, here we have explicitly written the public access specifier. That indicates that set feet, get feet, set inches, and get inches are coming under the public section. That is optional. Even if you remove that public keyword, it is understood that all these functions are coming public because the default access specification in structure is public, and exactly reverse in class. The default access specification in class is private. All the members in structures are public by default. All the members in class are private by default. These entities you should know. These will be clear when we go on discussing about classes also. So here it is given whatever I told. On the other hand, class members are private by default. Class members are private. So these two differences, key differences between structure and classes you should remember. Still we can use struct keyword in C++. But basically we go on using the keyword called class. The only difference between class keyword and struct keyword. If you use struct keyword, members are public by default. If you use class keyword, members are private by default. So that's it. You should remember one takeaway from this discussion. Now carefully observe, the struct keyword is being replaced by the class now. Now we are concentrating on classes. We go on using the class keyword. Earlier we were using the struct keyword. Let me show you once again here. Struct keyword was being used. Now both keywords you can use. Both keywords you can use. But if we use class keyword, by default the members are private. Now you can observe here. Earlier there was a access specifier called private. Earlier we had written an access specifier called private because we wanted to secure our data I feet and F inches by keeping in the private section. Now as we are defining class, we know that the members in a class are by default private. So even if I remove this private keyword, what happens? These two data members are private by default. They are private by default, and if you want to make anything public in the class, you should specify them under the public category. That means with this class definition, what we are trying to tell here is set feet, set inches, and get inches are the four functions which are being defined, which are being declared as public members of the class. Public means outsider can access. You can access these functions from the main function or some other function. That's why they have been made as public. But I feet and F inches are private. These are only accessed by these member functions. These member functions are allowed to access. These member functions are allowed to access this data. Right? Now let us see objects, like how we have created variables of the structure. After defining a structure, we created the structure variables. Similarly, variables of the classes are known as objects. So what is an object? Variables of the classes. Like how we declared structures and created variables of the structure, we can also create variables of the classes, and they are known as the object. So an object of a class occupies same amount of memory as variable of a structure that has the same data member. That means whatever the keyword you used, whether you use a struct A and class B, the amount of memory occupied is same. See here, this is the structure definition and this is the class definition. And what are the members of the structure? The structure has one character member, one integer member, and one floating point member. Similarly, the class, see, observe here carefully, this is structure keyword and this is class keyword. Whether you define a structure or you define a class, the size taken by the data members is same. Class has one character member, one integer member, and floating point member. Right? This is a class with the same data member. And in the main function, what we are trying to do here is we are trying to fetch the size of structure A, then size of class B. And if you can see the output 9, 9, both are 9. That means they will occupy same amount of memory. The amount of memory taken by these three members is same as that of the amount of memory taken by these three members. The memory taken is same. That means size of these two is same. They are of same size. They are of same size. Now scope resolution operator. So I think in the earlier classes someone had asked, probably it is Dharmgowda I feel. Can we define the member function outside the class? Yes, that's what is the purpose of the scope resolution operator. So to discuss about scope resolution operator, we have to go back slightly to the definition of the class. So let us see the definition of the class once again here. If you can see here, this is the function definition. Function is defined within the class itself. Function is defined. Not only this function, all the functions are defined here within the class. All the functions are defined within the class. That is set feet function, get feet function, set inches function, and get inches function. The definitions of these functions are defined within the class itself. Now, if you have so many functions, the complexity of the class will increase. The complexity of the class will increase if you go on defining each and every function within the class itself. To overcome this disadvantage, there is a possibility to define these functions outside the class. So that is possible with the help of scope resolution operator. We can define the functions of a class outside the class by using scope resolution operator. So how we can do that? Now you can see the class is being redefined. The class is being redefined. The same earlier class. By default, even if you don't write any access specified, by default it is understood that they are private. It is understood that they are private. Right? Private I feet and F inches are the private data members. Now if you can see the member function, compared to earlier class definition, we had defined the functions in the class itself. Now functions are not being defined, only we are writing prototypes of those functions. Only we are writing prototypes of those functions. Go back and show you the class once again. See here. Here we have written definitions within the class itself. This is opening of the class and this is closing of the class. We have written definitions of the functions within the class itself. But here we are not defining those functions within the class. We are writing only prototypes of those functions. We are writing only prototypes of those functions. But if you want to define those functions outside the class, the scope resolution operator will help. How do you write? 2 times colon, this is what is scope resolution operator. So what we are doing, we are defining the setFeet function. SetFeet function is being defined, which is belonging to distance class and which is returning nothing, white. That means what it indicates here is the setFeet function belonging to distance class is being defined and its definition is written here. Similarly, I am defining the getFeet function which is belonging to distance class and which is returning an integer value after the execution. So what is the general syntax of defining? Return type of the function, name of the class to which the function belongs to, distance is name of the class, followed by scope resolution operator, followed by name of the function which you are defining, followed by name of the function which you are defining, followed by the set of parameter what it takes. So similarly, we can define all other functions also. So what is basically the usage of scope resolution operator? Scope resolution operator is basically used to define the functions or member functions of a class outside the class. Now there is one more special pointer called this pointer. So I will only tell you brief about the this pointer in this module. So the details we will be seeing in the second module. The things will be confusing if I discuss more now. So what you have to remember only about this pointer, it is also called as a keyword or pointer, which always points to the object with respect to which we have called the function. That means this pointer always points at the object with respect to which the function was called. With respect to which the function was called. That is what is this pointer. That is what is this pointer. Right? So later we will see the details about this creation of the objects. How do we set the values and all. Set inches and get inches. So that is very much similar to this, how we invoke the usage of this pointer. So it will be discussed later, don't worry. Right now what you know here is, it is a pointer which always points to the object with respect to which we have called the function. Because some more fundamentals we have to cover so that you can understand this pointer. So this line will help you to remember, will understand what actually this does. This pointer should continue to point at the same object, the object with respect to which the member function has been called throughout its lifetime. Compiler creates a constant and this as a constant pointer. That means every object has this pointer. Every object has this pointer. And if you create an object, an implicit pointer will be associated with that one. So I will try to show you diagrammatically how actually this works. So assume if we have created one object 1 and object 2, there are members called x, not like this, x here and x here. Now assume if you want to assign, only this much is the functionality of this, just concentrate. If you want to assign some 10 to this x, how do you write? ob1 dot x is equal to 10. Then 10 will be stored here. If you want to store 20 here, how do we write? ob2 dot x is equal to 10. Not 10. Let us take some other value 20. So here 20 will get stored. Now, whenever you are executing the programs, when there are so many objects, you want to know you are working on which particular object. Your existence is related to which particular object. So then it is called as this. That means this dot x is equal to 10. If you are working with this object, it is going to assign to this object. So this basically refers to the object with respect to which you are working. If you are working with object 1, then 10 will be assigned here. If you are working with object 2, then 10 will be assigned here. So basically what is this? This is an implicit pointer which will be there with each and every object. Will be there with each and every object of a class. So we should always know what actually data abstraction. The key property of the C++. That is encapsulation, polymorphism, inheritance, and data abstraction. So data abstraction is the one in which we are going to hide the internal details from the programmer. We don't want what is happening in the background. That is what is called as data abstraction. Are you understanding? Are we connected? Is there any difficulties in the audio or video? Can someone respond till now? Is there any difficulty?
No, sir.
No, right? Okay. Right. What actually is abstraction? Hiding the internal details from the user is called as data abstraction. That means specifically, I'll take one example. Whenever you are riding a vehicle and you apply the brakes, and whenever you apply the brakes, so what you expect? You expect the vehicle to stop. You expect the vehicle to stop. But whenever you are applying brakes, there are so many entities involved in the background to make your vehicle to stop. But what simply you are doing? You are just applying brakes onto the vehicle. But internally in the background, there are so many strings which are connected, so many components which are connected with each other, and the final component is connected with the wheel of the vehicle. The wheel is going to stop, and the vehicle is connected with the wheel. When the wheel is going to stop, the vehicle will also stop. So this is what is internal work, the working in the background. But we don't want how the vehicle is stopping. What we want to stop the vehicle. That is called as data abstraction. Whenever some code is written, only the abstract details will be given to the programmer. Will be giving only the abstract notation, but how actually the code is working to solve that problem, that will be kept away from the user. That means the user need not worry about that. In terms of programming, so what we do here is we simply want to set the inches value. You just pass a value for the inches. That is, if inch value is changing from 1 to 12, then there is not a problem. If inches is beyond 12, then also the user should not face any problem. The working of program should not stop. What happens? If the inches is greater than 12, then what you should assume it as, if it is say 14 inches, then it should be assumed as 1 feet and 2 inches. 1 feet and 2 inches. So that's what this code is doing. Whenever there are 14 inches are provided by the programmer, then increment the value of f inches. That is, feet will be incremented by 1, then f inches will be decremented by, will be counted with 2. Because in these 14 inches, what we have 1 feet and 2 inches. This is called as data abstraction. We are not we are not making the user to worry about the internal details. Only the external functionalities will be given for the user. That is how the data abstraction works. Right, this explicit address manipulation and all is not essential. Right, arrow operator. So let us see one more entity called arrow operator. Arrow operator is also used to access members of a class. Arrow operator is also used to access data members of a class, provided that you are accessing the structure or class with the help of a pointer. Then we use the arrow operator. Till now what we were doing, we were using like D1 to access the members, we were using dot operator. D1 dot ifeed we were using. But if you are accessing the structure variable with the help of a pointer, then we use arrow operator. That is the difference. If it is a normal variable, we use dot operator. If it is a pointer variable, we use arrow operator. that is same as d1 dot set feet of 1 and d1 dot set inches of 1.1. See here, what is dptr? Dptr is a pointer of type distance. By using pointer, we use arrow operator. This is same as this one and this is same as this one. That is the difference what you should know. How do you write pointer operator? dptr hyphen arrow mark then set inches. So this is called as arrow operator. So where do we use arrow operator? Dot operator will be used in case of normal operators. Arrow operator will be used in case of pointers. Only that is the difference what you should know. Remaining all functionalities are same. Now calling one member function from another member function. So it is possible whenever we are being whenever our control is present in one member function, we can call another member function also from that member function. So that is possible. That is possible. Say for example, this is class A in which we have a data member called X and member function called set X and set indirect X. That is calling one function from another function. Main is calling function 1. Function 1 in turn is calling function 2. That is possible. So from A1 what we are doing? We are calling set indirect by passing 1 as a parameter. So where is set indirect? This function will be called by passing 1 as a parameter. Whereas within this function what we are doing? We are calling set X function. This is calling this function. That is nothing but we can call one member function from another function. That means which function is being called? Set X function is being called from where? From within another function called set indirect X. From main we are calling indirect X. From indirect X we are calling set X, and finally this is where we are assigning value. What is present in P? In P we have 1. This 1 is passed to here, and this the same value 1 is being taken and being sent to P, and that P is assigned to X. So this is possible. We can always call one member function from within another member function. The details about this the next possible class. That means probably this is your end of first module, unit 1. Unit 1 or module 1. The details about members, data members and member functions we will be discussing later. One second.